Right, okay then. Time to put together Ufthak Blackhawk. I like building these character series models. Aside from looking good, I tend to find them a lot easier put together than big kits, as you might guess. So, I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm just going to crack on with putting him together. So, basically, starting off, we need to get out parts 1 and 2. So this is like this big body area. And then we'll go from there and see how easy this guy is to put together. One thing that I do tend to find interesting when I'm doing these is I like to kind of look at the, I suppose, the quality both of the sculpt and the moulding process, you know, checking for mould lines and things like that. I'd love to actually know a bit more about Games Workshop's moulding process as they do stuff like this. Because so many places do 3D prints now, and depending on the quality of the 3D printer, you might not have any mould lines at all, but of course you're going to have injection points. So it's actually I'm kind of curious about how different companies produce their miniatures. I'm looking at this one. There's no real suggestion. There's actually a bit of a mould line running down the middle. You can see that right there, and I really got to clean that up. Sometimes I'm guilty of thinking that I've cleaned up my mould lines, and then I'll start painting them, and I'll look at them partway through painting, and I'll just wonder how I missed such obviously huge sticking out mould lines. So it's quite interesting to see stuff like this as you go through. Now, yeah, there we go. Now I got that one, and then grab number 2, which is his other leg here. This one, well, I say his other leg and upper body part. I always find it interesting as well when I'm looking at these about whether or not I personally feel they did it in as few pieces as possible. So what I mean by that is sometimes you'll have tiny little parts that are attached to other parts, and you'll look at them and you'll think to yourself, did you really need to make that separate? Did it really need to be a different part of the moulding process? Particularly if they're a hard to get on bit that you couldn't imagine it would cause that many problems. But then I'm not an expert at manufacturing miniatures, so can't exactly be too critical. Right, so he does have a bit of a mould line running down, and we just got to make sure that's nicely cleaned up. Right, as always, good idea, particularly on stuff like this, to do a nice dry fit. So let's just have a look here. So what we've got is we've got what looks like, oh gosh, this is actually quite odd to look at, this, isn't it? Because okay, let's work out which foot goes where. So yeah, if that's his kind of front of the body, and then this part is it's actually quite a weird little positioning, that, isn't it? So get that like that, and then this is heading inwards along the back by the look of it. There we go. So it's got quite a an interesting position to actually wrap it in. All you need to do is just get it in the angle, and it's fine. It's just, as you can see, sometimes it's hard to work out where you run stuff. Okay. I want to make sure as well that I'm not putting glue in the wrong place at this point, so it's going to run around this part. Here we go. Okay, So that's quite a solid body part, that. One leg raised upwards. And then let's now add... Okay, so now we need to put 5 and 6 together. So there's part 6. Quite an interesting little contraption, this. A custom blast gun by the look of it. Custom Dakar. So 6 and then number 5. Let me find number 5. How am I finding it so difficult? There it is, it's the squig head. And we've got to love a squig, haven't we? Squigs are just cool. One of the best things about orcs is their kind of weird weaponry, and I always find it a bit of a, how do I put this? Sometimes I feel that they don't give us enough bits in orc kits anymore to customise everything the way we should be able to, particularly with an orc force. And I love making custom trucks and things for orcs. In fact, it's going to be my intention eventually to create some proper custom vehicles for my orc force. Okay, so this head really sort of nestles in to here. It's got a very clearly defined collar. Let me just make sure I'm getting this in just right. Because I've done some Boing bounders recently, if I did feel like changing the head on this, I probably do have a spare few heads, but I'm going to build this as he should be. I believe as well they're actually going to be releasing some new orcs soon, so I'll be curious to see what they are. Let's get number 7 out, just partly because I was looking at a few orc models, and there are a few that could be, you know, kind of said are dated. Now, I'm not going to state which ones I think are dated at this point, but I think when I've looked at a set of models, with the upscaling of so many things, some models just don't feel as chunky as I want them to be. So I've been having a look at a few orc models, and there's been a lot of upscaling going on, and that's left a couple of miniatures looking a bit small compared to other things. So I would be curious going forward if they're going to upscale a few more orc miniatures, particularly when you look at someone like the new Gaskell model in the flesh. He's just so huge that he's made certain other orc units look a bit small by comparison. So you know what, we've had a kind of release of some more feral looking orcs over the last few years, haven't we? And that's really cool. I'd love to see some of the older models get a bit of an upscaling for the regular orcs as well. Not the actual orc boys, I'm fine with those. I think they're alright. I don't want them any bigger than they are. Okay, let's get this glued together. So yeah, I'm definitely seeing how that will go. I'm very curious about what we're going to see coming forward. Right. Oh yeah, how cool is that? Like bracing himself against his squig. As you do, as you do. that custom Mega Blaster, isn't it? I think that would be called. Right, what else do we need? We need 3 and 4, which is his big hammer. Again, I love that about this guy, the fact that, you know, he's got his custom Dakar and he's got this completely nutty hammer here. So there's number 4, and where's the end of the hammer? There. Gosh, my next Stormbringer's been delivered and I'm still not done putting the older ones together. I was all set for moving house and then things happen and now we're going to have to wait even longer. So, yeah, driving me crazy now. So, yeah, I was going to wait until we'd moved in order to put the rest of my Stormbringer together, and then I've blinked and my next delivery's turned up. So I've got some Spike Reverence to do in a big hurry now. Life, eh? Life. And of course, being a disabled person, and I know some people think you don't look disabled, mate. Well, trust me, I am. It's absolutely horrible. Having degenerative disc disorder. Anyway, so basically it's hard enough to keep yourself employed, and then people look for excuses, even with the Equality Act to protect you. You know, things happen, unfortunately. Right, you know, I'll leave it at that. I'm not inclined to vent every single frustration, but you know, I am having a bad time with everything. Right, okay, and now number 9, which is this. Of his front armour. Right, let's pop this on the front. See, these are one of these things where on probably a lot of an older model, stuff like that probably wouldn't have actually been separate from the model. And if you're the kind of person who prefers to paint things in pieces, that's a great little piece to leave off. I'm going to glue it on, even though my better judgment is saying I probably should leave it off for painting, because I really just want to get the model built. Don't want bits hanging around at the moment. Okay, and we are heading towards number 8 now. It's like a power feed for his weapon. Just so frustrating at the moment. I've got no space for anything. My desk is covered in Bretonians that I need to get painted so I can sell them, so I can earn more money, so I can go and buy other things, because I'm that daft. Oh, what am I like? Why do I torture myself like this, eh? What do I do this to myself all the time? Ooh, where's this go? Oh, right, no, this goes further down his body. Let me work this out. So this is... Hang on, let me work this out. So 1, 2, 3, like that. then it kind of clips over here on the rest of him. Just be careful, because that feels like it could easily snap if you force it too much. It definitely feels like something that could snap this cabling. You know, I've just kind of realised all this guy needs is some cabling going into his head, and he could basically look like the orc. He could look like the orc Perturabo, couldn't he? Look at him. Said that right. Anyway, yeah, there we go. Okay, let's get his head on now. Get his noggin on. Perturabo, that's who I would call him. Perturabo. There we go. Head on. It's dead simple, that. I mean, he's got the big hammer, hasn't he? I'm sure Perturabo has. Am I saying that right? Perturabo. I'll have to check. The problem with me is I read a lot, but I say I read a lot, but I actually lost the ability to read it at one point because of the medication that I used to take. It was impossible to actually look at words on a page, so for years I'd stopped reading. Anyway, but yeah, so I read a lot, but I'll correct that too. I've started reading again for pleasure, which I haven't done in so many years, and yeah, so basically I read a lot of words, but obviously I never hear them said, so I'm terrible sometimes at working out the pronunciation of things. And as you might guess, as a teacher, that can be very embarrassing at times, when I just think I know how a word is said, and then one of my students will go, "What? That's not how you say that word." And it's like, oh, I've never heard it said out loud. I've only ever seen it written in a book. Anyway. Right, there we go. He is all done, and what a cool model. I love the size of him. I always say the best way to actually get an idea of how big something is in Warhammer is to put it next to a Primaris, because I think they, you know, obviously we know that Primaris are bigger than your average old world firstborn Space Marine. So anything bigger than a Primaris is massive by most definitions. And look at him, he just completely and utterly, you know, make this guy look like a toy soldier. Well, he is a toy soldier, you know what I mean. There we go then, that is him. That is Ufthak Blackhawk, and what a cool model, an absolutely gorgeous model he is. I love him, he is brilliant. And I need to put more glue on the base, but other than that, the build is done. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I shall be carrying on with even more videos quite soon.